Baker guy, I have many questions. One of which is, can I have your number? But,
Hello.
right?
Just to give a heads up, we might have had some audio issues, but I think we're back up again.
Okay.
So I'm trying to hear if I can hear us.
Oh,
but we're not a little bit of a delay, so.
We'll power through.
There you go. Yeah, there it goes.
There we go.
Hey, that was me. I heard me.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, hopefully you were actually able to hear all that. We've been going for
hopefully
20 minutes
you're
now.
able to hear me.
Yeah.
Flirting through my webcam into the past to the baker. Anyway, so the last bits of this particular leg, they do have to find the Queen and Boris Johnson. Mark, how many of these people believed that they actually met the Queen?
The YouTube parents
At
did,
least
The YouTube
maybe
parents did?
at least 5 or 6.
I think they really thought they met the Queen.
She did.
She didn't not look like the Queen.
She did look like a queen, but I mean,
Boris Johnson looked like Boris Johnson than the Queen looked like the Queen. But
why would they expect to see the actual Queen and the real Boris Johnson at a freaking restaurant?
That's it for
how?
me.
Why?
I understand that you're on an American television show for one of the largest networks in the country and probably the world, but they can't afford to just hire the Queen and Boris Johnson to hang out in a pub
night,
unguarded having a drink together.
Although they sometimes will do it just to get people, tourism going. Or you might just randomly bump into the Queen and Boris Johnson. I mean, I don't know who would want to go see him, but in public, right? But still,
Okay.
Queen ain't got no time for that. Trust me.
Oh, for sure. That's my next question, though, Saul, is I would have immediately asked, I understand it's not Boris Johnson, but what can I get away with saying to this fake Boris Johnson? And will you show it on TV? Because I have some words.
We all have some words.
After Boris Johnson is out of office, what does this guy do for work? He looks.
Oh boy, that's a whole thing. That's a very different podcast.
Yeah.
Breaking down what Boris Johnson does or
No.
doesn't do.
No, not Boris Johnson. The lookalike. What does he do after he's out of office?
No, I think that's his job. I think he's a professional Boris Johnson impersonator.
Yeah. Either that or he might do stand up maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it's part of his gig. Oh, you know what would have been funny? There's a drag queen from Drag Race UK who gets hired to do. Oh no, she gets hired to do Donald Trump. Never mind. I was gonna say it would have been funny if they got one of the drag queens from Drag Race and it was fooling people. That would have been hilarious. But I really think some of them thought they met the Queen that day and probably went home and were like, "We met the Queen of England." Have you
seen these pictures of people who I met this person today and it's someone who does not even look like the person that they think it is? Or clearly they're a lot shorter than they thought. Or I met Tom Cruise and it's really tall guy.
Yeah. I would, if I thought I met somebody, I wouldn't post that immediately. I would make sure I went home and looked at a million pictures of the person I thought I just met.
You don't know how many times I want to post what's it called? A meme or something like that, but let me make sure what I'm actually talking about is what I'm actually want to talk about.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm not being dummy.
True.
So that's, I guess, the bulk of what this leg was. It was pretty straightforward. The fact that we had this sort of 2-hour premiere, I think they really boiled down some of these legs. I know the next leg has at least one location that they didn't air.
Okay.
So I didn't see that for this first leg, but I wouldn't have necessarily been surprised because it felt like it went by pretty quick.
Usually the first leg goes pretty quick, and it's just a single detour, a single task, just because there's so many teams.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
They don't necessarily have the airtime to do a detour and a roadblock,
or they do it and
or
they just don't show it.
Or shove in like a fast forward or anything like that, just because.
That's right.
Airtime is there's just not.
Do you remember when there was a fast forward in every freaking leg?
Oh my god.
I already forgot that those were elements of the race.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, can't wait.
That one season where every leg there was a fast forward. That was horrible.
I think it was the first
So,
season, wasn't it?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Or
Nope.
was it? Or was it with
a
when
little bit
Rob
further down the line?
with Rob and Amber were there?
No,
No,
it was
even
a
then?
bit before them.
Okay. I remember it happening. I just don't remember when it was.
Somewhere in the first handful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we end up with our finish line at the London Natural History Museum, and I don't know about y'all, but the first, honestly, like the first 4-ish teams were unsurprising, and to me personally, pretty uninteresting. So we're not doing like a full cast assessment or anything here, but we can kind of do them in groups, I suppose.
Mhm.
First and second, first team was Anthony and Spencer. These are the train guys because they like stopped a terrorist attack on a train, I guess, and then Clint Eastwood made a
Yes.
movie about them.
I remember when
Any
that happened.
real quick
Yeah.
thoughts on them, Saul?
I mean, so far I haven't seen anything that would tell me I don't like them. But
Yeah, they don't seem like bad guys,
yeah.
but they just
Yeah,
They stop bad
they seem
guys.
perfectly pleasant. It's just perfectly vanilla. So
yeah.
mhm.
After this first leg, to me, they felt like they're always every season I've watched feels like it has a team that's like built for the race. And I thought that this was probably going to be them. We'll see based
Yes.
on how they did in the second, but I felt like that was the case. And then the second place team is another team that I also thought was like, okay, here's another one of the like built for the race teams. This is Ryan and Dusty. This is the pair with the guy who was wrongly convicted of a crime
that is crazy.
and his friend.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Did you get much from them, Mark?
No, I didn't get much from them. Although from like the pre-race stuff, I was just kind of like rooting for these guys just because the guy has missed out on a lot of his life, and I really do want him to do well in this race. But we didn't get a lot of screen time for both of these teams just because they just sailed through.
Yeah, they were.
They ran into like no obstacles.
They're the new Lulu.
Oh boy! Yep,
Oh no!
Yep. Yep. Well, the next two teams were Raquel and Kayla coming in third place. These were the flight attendants. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
They seem fun. They also seem sort of like built for this.
I kind of felt like they were gonna get on my nerves, but they didn't.
I wasn't sure if they were going to. I wasn't sure if them or Lulu and Lala were going to be in the roles they are, or like vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like one of the two of those teams was going to be sort of the like we've look put together but are not put together teams, and the other one was going to actually be put together. I just didn't know which one was which.
Well, the flight attendant did say we're the hot mess team, so
right,
and
also
they proved that in the next leg.
I guess that's true. That's true. Okay, this is the one I'm really curious about. Kim and Penn come in fourth place. I don't know these folks, but it seems like everybody else does.
Like they're like famous like TikTok YouTuber people. I didn't really know about their channel until like right now.
Yeah,
and
I had no idea.
They do some fun videos. Like, I've seen a few, and they seem perfectly pleasant, and they're funny. They're creative. Check them out. So
yeah, I liked in the puzzle challenge, Penn was talking about how his ADHD is a superpower. I think that's cool. I always like when folks highlight stuff like that. So they seem fun.
Yeah, because
that ADHD also gonna
super focused.
Yeah, and then that's also going to be a bit of their downfall in the next leg.
Next three teams are Caro and Ray, the Love Island team, Akbar and Sherry, that Lights On school team, and Connie and Sam, the football coach parents. We talked a little bit about the two married couples. Any thoughts on Caro and Ray, Mark, the Love Island couple?
I believe did they win Love Island? I don't know. I don't watch Love Island.
I'm not sure what Love
no
Island
idea.
is. Are there winners?
People seem to really like them though, or we seem to be excited for them.
They seem pleasant. I don't watch Love Island because dating shows is just not for me. They seem fun. I think this is the only recognizable team out of the bunch. If people are into all of the CBS stuff.
They're our CBS reality team.
Which one is Love? What show is Love Island?
Love Island is a dating show where they start with a certain number of women and a certain number of men, and then over the course of the show, the men will get a chance to eliminate some women, the women will get a chance to eliminate some men, and they introduce new people along the way. And ultimately, some people end up with matches and some people don't. And you end up winning because the public like votes on their favorite couple at the end.
I think that's the one that my wife and I watched the first season. but it was with what's her name? She was on Laguna Beach before.
But Carl and Ray were on the first season.
Oh, they were.
They were.
Oh well, maybe it's not that. Maybe I'm thinking of it's the what's her name? I can't remember her name. Who's the host on that? Do you know? Yeah, I'll look it up.
No clue.
Go, move on move on while I look it up in the background.
Okay,
let's move on.
So then, the last 4 teams were Taylor and Isaiah, the dancing husbands, which we talked a little bit about. They seem very sweet,
yes,
and they seem generally to work well when they're together. So I'm looking forward to see what they can pull off. Aaron and Natalya, the father-daughter team, also seem very, very fun. I was surprised to see that they fell as low as they did, but glad that they were not last. We talked a little bit about the twins on this leg, and then Michael and Mo, the cops, were ultimately eliminated, which honestly I'm not mad at because they were so bad at that puzzle. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know. Y'all asked for that. So. Are any other standout stuff from this first leg, as far as the detour with the puzzle, the scavenger hunt, the Queen, Boris Johnson, or any of the teams?
I think we covered it all.
Honestly, cool. What's her name? Kim and Penn. I didn't really like them in this episode. I don't know why they were a little annoying to me. Not that I hated them, but they were a little annoying to me. That's about it.
I haven't decided. They seem like they could be fun. I haven't decided whether or not I'll think they're fun or not. Like, I think they have the potential to overproduce themselves, but I don't think they've done that yet. So I'm like cautious of that. But
their videos tend to be a little bit over the top, and I think that's just how they are. I think they bring a little bit of that into the race, which may be a little bit overbearing. Let's see if they
I think that's what it is. Because I can see it being on the channel, being their characters or themselves, right, acting that way. But to go on to a TV show like The Amazing Race and kind of be on the whole time, it seems fake to me. To me, not necessarily. I'm not calling them fake. I'm just saying, just to me.
No, I think what you're saying makes sense because if you're not already watching their content, right, this could be how they are literally every day of their life. Yeah. But I don't know them from 2 people walking down the street, right? So if I met 2 people walking down the street who are as on as they are, I might be just as sort of like, hold up a sec.
This is the very beginning of the race, and I think people are excited and they can be over the top like throughout the first leg. But as we go on, you will see people will start dropping all those pretenses and just start slapping each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on to the second leg. This one takes place entirely in England. They haven't left the country just yet, which I guess does work out for a double episode, right? Same location for the whole thing. They start their leg at St. Mary Abbott's Garden. Seemed nice. And this is our first roadblock, or they end up having their first roadblock on this second leg. And this is the mail rail roadblock at the Postal Museum. This is where the title of the episode, It Can't Be That Easy, comes from, because there is that notable moment that Mark was referencing, I believe, as far as Penn's ADHD and his hyperfocus. This roadblock, literally all they have to do is jump on this little tiny train. Honestly, the worst part of this roadblock would be sitting in that tiny little train. Because that was a tiny little train.
Oh, yeah. I might freak out.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked that. I would have closed my eyes probably. But then, other than that, all they had to do was like sort through some boxes and envelopes and grab the very obvious Amazing Race clue, which most people caught on to, but we saw Ray and Penn hanging out there for far too long thinking it can't be this easy. What did you think of this roadblock, Mark?
Both of them found it very quick, and they looked at each other and they held it up, and they're like, This is it? This is it? What? It can't be.
Yeah.
And then they talked themselves into looking for something else,
30
or
minutes.
they thought thought there's gonna be some guy at the end
task.
Of the end of the train, trying to ask some questions and stuff. And so they way overstayed their welcome.
I think they were thinking that they were going to do a task and get the clue.
Saul, Saul, one of the things about The Amazing Race that feels different than some of the other shows I watch is like it feels pretty straightforward. Like if they tell you to do something, that's exactly what you are to do. Like, are there
except for the
seasons
puzzle
where they've like tricked That's true. But like, do they? It felt like they were looking for a trick or something, and there was no trick. Like they had the clue.
Trick.
I think
like the clue.
I don't think it's that easy usually, though. I don't think it's that easy because they just showed up and they were there, right? Usually, you do have to look for something. You do need to.
It is weird. It wasn't in one of the boxes. Like, why didn't they just put the clue in a box?
No, very strange. If there's another task, like they will be very specific with the rules on the clue itself.
Yeah.
For the roadblock. Of what you have to do. So if you don't see like there's going to be a guy at the end of the line asking you questions, then there's not going to be a guy at the end of the line asking you questions about the mail. So
the thing is that this roadblock is
and the
weird.
task is find the clue, and they found the clue.
Yeah,
like,
and the thing is that this roadblock is weird because the roadblock you would think is like a task or deliver this, but you need to actually go do something rather than just sit in the train when someone else is driving. Go pick up the clue and then leave. That is not.
I mean, it was definitely a weird roadblock, but like, it seemed pretty straightforward. Everybody else thought it was straightforward, and I actually think that Penn would have thought it was straightforward. I think Ray convinced him that there was more to it, or maybe it was just the perfect combination of two people who were going to overthink it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have an issue sometimes when I'm taking tests that. A question looks a lot harder than it really is. So I'm like, wait, it can't be this simple, this answer. And sometimes they trick you. Sometimes on tests they trick you and they'll give you the easy answer, but it's wrong. And they'll give you the right answer, but it's, super hard to get there. Sometimes you get it wrong because you know what you're doing. Sometimes you get lucky.
This is one of the things I do like structurally is that some of these roadblocks, your partner can't be there with you, right? So like if you're a team that is at your best when you're together, like it seems like maybe Penn and Kim sort of balance each other out. This could really throw some teams
and the thing
off,
with the
the
thing with the roadblocks, even if your teammate's there to see what you're doing, they can't talk. So even if she was there in sight, she wouldn't be able to tell him to just come back.
Here's the thing, they know they have to balance out the roadblocks between both members of the team, and knowing that there's going to be probably more physical stuff down the line, I'm kind of surprised they sent Penn instead of Kim.
Is that still a thing though? Do they run out? Okay, because I remember like the previous season there was one team that one person almost did almost every single egg.
Didn't it used to be that? I was gonna say, didn't it used to be that anybody could do anything, and then you could changed it so that you had to do like an even amount.
The thing is, I don't know if they still do that. Yeah, I don't know if they still do that.
They still do that.
Okay.
They still do that. Yeah.
So everybody does get through the roadblock. This does really put Kim and Penn and Caro and Ray sort of back a little bit, but doesn't affect them overall all that much. And then we hit our next detour, of course. And this is the Bullseye Mate versus Decorate. So Bullseye Mate is literally darts in a pub. There wasn't really much of a twist to that one. It was pretty much just darts. And then Decorate was decorating cakes, but specifically cakes that were decorated like flags of the European Union. So based just on darts and cake, I guess, Saul, which one would you have, like, what was your gut taking you towards?
I probably would have done the cake because I don't think I would be able to hit the... If I hit the bullseye, it's not because of skill. It's just going to be a random chance. And I'm pretty sure anybody who was with me would have been the same thing. So it would have been like, I get it once, and the other person gets it once on a different turn. I doubt we would have been able to get it at the same time. At the same time, my cake decorating skills are not that great. But as we see, it doesn't always matter.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mark, which one of these would you have wanted to do?
Absolutely cake. I mean, shooting darts, like both of you have to end up with a bullseye in the same round. It's just thinking about the probability of that is way too tiny. It's way harder than some of the needle and haystack tests that they ever had in the past. So
yeah,
and that one
I'm kind of surprised so many teams went for it. So
that one they're able to get there pretty quick, right? They had to drive further to get to the cakes.
I think so. I think the Bullseye Mate was probably one of those tasks that was made to sound very easy or straightforward at the very least. But then once you got there, like you're saying, Mark, to get a bullseye in the same round as your partner, I mean, we saw this throw Aaron and Natalya way off because Aaron kept getting it and Natalya was just like, I don't know what to do if I'm just bad at something. Like, what do I do if I'm just simply bad at this? You know?
Yeah,
and there's sort
the
of some luck involved.
High. A little bit.
I mean, there is definitely skill to it, but I don't have that skill.
Well, I think it's one of those things where if you have the skill, you're golden. But if you don't, then it kind of is just like luck. You know, like
it's just luck.
It's not like a task that is totally luck based. But if you've never done it, then like all you can do is sort of pray and throw.
There's a big. I mean, there's a big learning curve. That's what it is.
Oh yeah,
right.
Big time. Some teams really kind of blasted
years.
through it though. Like Connie and Sam, who did I thought really poorly in the first leg. This is the football coach parents. I mean, they got through this thing.
Yeah.
They got through it real fast to the point where they had their own little like Ray and Penn moment where Sam was like, "Do I have to drink this? Like, am I done? Like, what's left?"
So Sam was a good coach though. When he coached Connie through it, that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean I think that's how I would decide to choose what to do. And this is something that the Amazing Race no longer does anymore. In the past, they used to do like this task is easier for people who do this, and this, and they'll tell you why it's easier for those kind of people. And then the other task might be harder, but it's faster. They don't really do that anymore. As far as I remember, it's been a while since they've done that. And I kind of like that.
It just looks obvious.
Do they have maybe like clues or descriptions they don't read fully on the show? Kind of like tree mail?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just not necessarily seeing like the full description of some of these things. Okay.
If they show you the full clue, at least? Like if they show you the camera on the clue, it's usually because someone's gonna mess up somewhere, like doing what they're doing. I think. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. They will give you a rough clue of what the tasks are before you assign the team member. And after you decide who's doing it, and then you'll read the full clue.
That's right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. In any case, just like with the art one, the moment I saw a cake, I would have been in. So I would have done the cake one as well, regardless of what I had to do. I would have been all over the cake. This was a really interesting task for me. This was actually probably the closest the race got to trying to like trick the racers, because they had a bunch of cakes that were all decorated like flags of Europe. But they had to pick the two flags that were part of the European Union. I actually think some of the flags were outside of Europe too. But
they were. There was Brazil. I think I saw Brazil, and I also saw Kenya.
I think
that's right.
Yeah, I think I did see that. And
that's right.
What I didn't.
It's like, what's Kenya doing there?
Sure. What was a little off to me was like, who was it that didn't know what the French flag looked like? I thought everybody knew what the French flag looked like.
It's easily confusable with like other flags that are. There are a whole bunch of European flags that are all like blue, black, and white. So.
But I mean, if they're red, white, and blue.
If there were a number of the just like 3 vertical stripes type flags, I could see that being sort of tricky. But ultimately, the answer was France and Germany. And I would have gotten that, I think. I think I might have been tripped up by a couple of them. But I think what was interesting to me was like, I saw the German flag, and that was the one that I immediately was like, oh, well, that's definitely one of them. But that seems to be one of the ones that people missed. And I think it had to have just been the sheer amount of cakes. Like, I think you get in there, you see like 40 cakes, and you just can't look at all of them at once. So I think that had to have been it, because most of them just seem to have missed the German flag cake. I just don't think they saw it.
Was there only 2 that were in the European Union, or was there 2 among several. A bunch of them?
There could have been more.
Okay.
Everybody had the same answer though. Yeah. Because at some point people caught on to like, oh, well, they did those ones, and it was that's right. Well, let's get into the baker, right? Because not only did they have to get the right flags, they had to get their cakes approved by this baker, and as pleasant as this baker was, and as lovely as he was, he started off really strict about like, sorry, you have a drip. Sorry, this corner is messy. And then I think somebody must have told him like, bro, calm down, buddy. Because then people were coming up later with like far messier looking cakes, and he was like, "This is beautiful." And it got to the point where I feel like the cameras weren't even zooming in on the cakes because they were like, "We can't show you how bad these cakes are."
No, I mean, they weren't zoomed in, but you were able to tell.
There were some of the Germany cakes that had some of the peaches dripping off of the side. I'm like, I hear
even the
French,
like, the French one too. They you can see the I don't know if it was strawberry or cherry. What was it? Was like dripping off the edge where they did the design.
Yeah,
it was coming out of there. I'm like, well, I guess see, and I was working at the same time as we were watching this, and my wife was like, "What the heck? Like, why did he let them go?" And of course, I missed the judge, and I'm like, sometimes it's just up to the judge that you get. He's like, "But it's the same judge." I'm like, oh yeah.
Okay, very visible difference.
So this is fascinating to me because I do think this judge, as lovely as he was and as fun as he seemed he was, like the racers seemed to enjoy him too. Like he was wildly inconsistent, and I was wondering, like, is this something that comes up much on the race where as a viewer you're sitting there like, this judge is like all over the place, or was this kind of an exception with this particular baking judge?
I don't remember another one that was like that. I like I said, there's times where you have multiple judges and you just look out on the judge that you get, because there's times
that feels a little bit more okay to me, I guess. That feels
judges
like a
that.
Luck of the draw type thing.
Right. Sometimes you get judges like that with like singing or dancing tasks. I think more so than like cooking or decorating sort of tasks. You know, but at some point, I think the producers might have stepped in and be like, it doesn't have to be that exact.
Either that, or they were wasting so much ingredients that they're like, you know what, just get them out of here.
Could be. He seemed like a handful, right? Because I have a feeling maybe he wasn't supposed to make a comment about, you know, England and the UK and Brexit and all that, because he like caught himself saying like, and I'm not gonna talk about that. So it feels like maybe he was a handful in general, but made for an interesting segment, I suppose. I don't know what's happening to all that cake is what I would like to know.
Yeah, let's talk about the flight attendants not knowing about Brexit.
Right. Now here's the thing. I could understand if somebody was like, Brexit is very confusing to me, but I think they might have just been victims of, we're in England, it's got to be the UK to a degree. And I wish they hadn't, like, but I don't know, they weren't ashamed to say like, I've heard of Brexit, but I don't know what Brexit is. So I don't know why I'm giving them credit or the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe because they're flight attendants, I would have expected them to know that.
Even if you don't know the ins and outs of Brexit, I would feel like you at least know like what it was about. You know what I mean? You might not know.
The big piece of it was stay or leave.
Yeah,
like, that's the big piece of it that you should kind of know.
But especially
that's why I'm so surprised that so many of these teams were like whiffing on this like UK knowledge. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, like when they were part of the European Union, did they have to use a euro? Or were they one of the ones that just kept using their own money?
I have to imagine that the UK used their own currency.
Right.
It might have been a situation where they might have had to accept the euro, perhaps. I mean, that is something I don't know, but
no. They entered the European Union like with the clause that they get to keep the pound.
Okay. That feels right to me. It doesn't feel like they would.
I mean, if the United States were going into something like that, that would probably be the same thing with the United States, where they would just everyone would just take the dollar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I would, like I said, I would have probably done this. I would have probably been one of the ones that was sent back because it was dripping, and hopefully, the first time it was when he was already on the cooler side.
My mother taught me how to decorate a cake before I probably could write, so I would have been golden. I was like watching them do the border, and I was like, "Oh, all of you! I could have flown through that little shell border."
I mean, my wife and I watched the holiday baking challenges and the holiday baking championships and all that. So guys, grocery stuff like that, where they're all cooking.
Yeah,
I know what to look for. What that will cause it to mess up. I just can't do it.
So, actually replicating it is the
exactly.
Tough part.
I'll come out and nailed it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, the unaired location, I don't know if people are curious about this, but the unaired location, which sounds like it was just a stop along the way at some point, was Orbit Tower, which is a really cool looking location. So I'm surprised they cut it. It's a really, really neat, very sculptural looking tower. So look it up. Looks neat. Ultimately, the standings are much more shaken up than I would have expected them to be, based on how strong some folks were in the first leg and how poorly some folks did in the second leg. Ryan and Dusty win this leg. This is the wrongful conviction and his friend. Not super surprised that they did well, but I was surprised at some of the teams that fell really far, like Anthony and Spencer, the train guys, end up coming in 7th. They had just a terrible leg. Like, luck-wise, they did fine, but like, oh boy.
They had the biggest drop off as far as the first teams, and probably Arun and Natalya were probably the ones that gained the most.
Yeah, so we end up with Ryan and Dusty in first, Connie and Sam. This shocked me, although they did place higher last leg than I thought they would. The fact that they came in second was really surprising to me. I think maybe they're a team that just sort of like got off on the wrong foot, but once they realized like what they were doing, they might actually be a team dynamic that works really well. Like, they never seemed to struggle because the two of them couldn't get along. They just seemed to sort of together struggle.
Was it Penn that munched it when they were running? He just fell.
No, Penn was the one that totally ate it, and I was nervous because like it was when they were talking about, you know, we're much older than folks on the race, having a little bit of youth is helpful, and then Penn totally ate it, and I was like, oh, please don't let that be a thing. And he got up fine, luckily, but took him a second to get up.
I mean, I probably would still be down.
Yeah. Me too. So after Connie and Sam, we end up with Aaron and Natalya, like you mentioned, Saul. Raquel and Kayla, the flight attendants, are hovering around exactly the same place they were last time. Kim and Penn ending up around the same place. Caro and Ray, shocked that they did as well as they did. Okay, Mark, did you also think that they walked off the race when you saw that confessional with just Caro?
When I was
saw
really
her
worried.
Just giving a confessional, because it was a confessional of just her talking about how you don't really know somebody, that you're in a long distance relationship. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. So were you as worried as I was?
I was a little bit worried that this might have been the end for them, but luckily there's a confessional later where both of them were in the shot. So,
do they do individual confessionals very much?
I don't think they do.
Not on the race.
If they're in a roadblock, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like even back in the blind date season, like they would shove both of people in the.
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you all think? Are they going to do better than some of the blind date contestants, or do you think they're going to just do as bad? Or
well, I think the question is, are they still going to be dating after the race?
That is.
I mean, I don't know the answer.
Question.
I'm sure we know the answer, but I don't.
Somebody might know the answer, but at this point, that was quite a fiery disagreement they had. So,
oh, by the way, I looked it up,
and it wasn't over like a huge thing either. Like it was anything on the race feels like a big thing, so I get it, but it wasn't like they were fighting over the way, you know, one of them treated like somebody in London. You know, like it wasn't.
Right.
You know, no one yelled at the other person, and then like that's what sparked it off. It was all over just the fact that he like overthought the task. And then he got mad that she was trying to understand what happened. It's like, oh no.
I looked it up. Love Island is not the one that we watched. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Which one did you watch?
It was with Kristen
Island?
No, it was with Kristen Cavallari. Kristen Cavallari. It was like Love Hotel, something like that. I don't know, but it was kind of similar like that. Paradise Hotel. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Anyways,
which is a similar format.
Yeah. That's why when you were playing, you're like, wait, did I see this one? But anyways, that's beside the point. The one that I wanted to ask about was Lulu and Lala getting into a fight. What was their fight about?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh no, go for it.
How do we condense this story? Just because.
Do you know which twin is which in this scenario? I don't know which one is. Like, I don't know which one was Lulu. I understand the disagreement. I just don't know who was who.
So here's the distilled version of the story. One of them got dumped right before they got on the race, and the one that dumped them said that they're useless and they're blah blah blah, they're all this negative crap. And then they were recounting that story, and they were getting emotional over it, like with the cake task. And then the other twin got annoyed that they mentioned this, just because it sort of brought like team morale down, and they were arguing over that in the taxi. Like,
yes,
why?
But I also get it from both sides, because they did poorly in both legs, and one of the twins just got out of the relationship where her ex-partner said, like, basically you'll never be good enough, or you'll never succeed at anything, and they're failing at things, right? So she was trying to like use that as an example. I think the twin was failed at, but I think she was trying to say, like, he's wrong, he sucks, we're awesome, you're awesome. But the other twin was basically just like, why don't you just let me talk about it? Where it's like, whoo boy.
It's what's it called? Have you all seen what's it? Spider-Man? No Way Home?
Not yet.
I have seen the new Spider-Man, but Mark is not.
Mark, close your ears. No, I can't. It's not a spoiler, but I would just say someone talking about how they're lame, and the other people are like, no man, no, you're not.
Yeah.
It's like
exactly.
It's that pretty much.
It would be like if the person
who
who thought they were lame got mad when somebody told them they weren't.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like I get it. You know, when you want to talk about, when you're going through something, you want to talk about it. At the same time, you're like, don't even let that come up. Don't come to your mind. Don't think that way. And for one person,
the way they approached it was
for one person, it might be like, hey, you know what? You're not lame. You're not useless. Just focus on what you're doing. You're doing good. And the other person might be like, well, I want to talk about this. This is the way I cope. And it's just two different ways of.
It's also weird on a show like this, because it's very clear that the fact that she went through a breakup right before the race is something she's been talking about in auditions and casting, and like it's part of her story, and it's clear that like the race is part of what her like healing process is supposed to be for the television show, right? So I'm sure she is bringing it up constantly, and then to be told not to talk about it, I'm sure she was like, this is very confusing. Like, I've talked about this so many times. Like, why are we not talking about it now? You know? So, I get it from both perspectives.
At some point, we're going to be like, we get it. You're in a breakup. The guy was a piece of trash. Just shut up.
So, like I said, I was working while I was watching this, and I caught the kind of what was going on, but I couldn't figure out what is it that sparked the fight. And the like I said, since I was kind of trying to do both things, I was more like, wait, is the other twin agreeing with the guy in this? No. Like, why was she? No, why were
she was
fighting?
Trying to say that the ex-partner was a piece of shit. Yeah, is what she was trying to do.
Right now, when we're talking about it, like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Now in my head, it makes all sense, and it makes sense why they would fight, because they're coming at it from different movies.
It's a lot more classic Amazing Race, like one partner being mad at the other one for like being negative than it sounded. Because like I feel like every season I've watched has at least one team where one person is like, you can't think that way. Like, we're not sucking. We're not in last place yet. And the other person's like, oh my God, I'm terrible at everything. And it was very much that. But it was like wrapped up in, you know, twin drama, which I'm sure is its very own unique type of drama. So,
all right. I'm
ultimate.
Go ahead.
I was gonna close out our ranking. So ultimately, Lulu and Lala do end up in last place, but they are not eliminated, which it kind of felt like that was going to be the case. I don't know how frequently non-eliminations happen, but I
usually
did not think that they were going to be going. Yeah, I did. Oh, really? Okay, I didn't think they were going to be going
not
home.
This early. Usually they don't do non-eliminations in the first 3 legs.
They have done in the first leg.
The race.
They have done in the first leg, and that I think that's awful.
Well, but that was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't even remember when that happened. I just remember it happening and me being upset about it. But They end up in last place. We'll see if they ever end up living up to Phil's claim that they're the most in sync twins he's ever seen. I don't think so.
I mean, there's a lot of twins that just been hot messes too, though.
True.
You might be just talking about that kind of thing.
True.
I mean, and again, you might be in sync when there's no stress and there's no pressure, and then when pressure comes, you just. So yeah.
Just explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they did let us know that in our next episode, we're going to Scotland, and they also let us know that is where things are going to shut down. So we got a little sneak peek of Phil giving them the news. I don't know how deep into the leg they get, or if it's just they get through the whole leg, and that's when it happens. I guess that's what we'll be tuning in to find out.
I think.
I would hope that it's a double episode again, though, because I wouldn't
be surprised.
I wouldn't
just
want
based
to,
on where they slot this show in.
Well, I wouldn't want to wait a week for them to run the full third leg, and then no elimination begin because
Well, it depends on what they want to do with the break. Drag Race UK season 2 filmed at around the same time, I think, and their production was halted, and they had a whole episode. I'm not saying we need a whole episode of this, but if they do a 2-hour thing or if they do a long episode, Drag Race did a whole episode about what they were doing at home. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had some sort of segments or something where the producers kept in contact with them, said, film what you're going through, film what it's like, stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little bit of that. So even if they end the leg very early in the episode, I still think they could fill out, a bunch of time with hope. I'm hoping for it, honestly. I think it's fascinating.
Right.
But I could see other people not necessarily.
No, I get that, and I don't mind if that were to happen. What I don't want it to happen is that they actually complete the leg, and then at the end of the leg is where they stop production, and then we go a week without knowing what's going on.
Gotcha.
If they're gonna end
the leg, thing.
Well, if they're gonna end the leg, end it like halfway through, or do it somewhere where that way we can know what to expect. I
think you might end up disappointed. I think we're going to get the leg. I think we're going to get them getting the news. And I think the episode is going to end with the suspension or with the special about what they're doing at home. I don't think we're getting anything from the fourth leg or the new first leg.
I don't need
until
I don't need the fourth leg. I just need to know what's going on. Like you said, even if it's catching us up on what's it called, what they did during that time, or letting know who's not coming back.
They're not going to play it for suspense. We know that the pandemic hit.
Right. Here's what they have done with the race in the past when there are other shows going on. Like they will do double episodes for the entire season.
Yeah.
For multiple weeks or the entire season. And we know that they have Celebrity Big Brother coming on next month and Survivor coming in March. So, they can't do a full 9-10 episodes and then have it
I think it's 11
run
episodes
into
normal.
Other shows. Yeah, normally 11 you got because one episode per
are we
leg. They're
guaranteed
usually 11 leg
episodes
episodes.
for this
I was going to say that.
season, though?
Maybe it's
We
only
are
8
not.
episodes or something.
We are not.
It
Probably
might be a
9
shortened
episodes.
season.
Might be a shorter season. We might just get a month of this, right? And it'll end right before Celebrity Big Brother starts.
What my thoughts were going to be, when I didn't know what they were going to do to continue, is what did they just bring all back, tell them hold off, and then just let's finish the last part of the race in the states, just go to the states. But even that I think that would have been even harder because there's states you can't even go into.
Well, if you don't know the answer to what they do, it's out there, but I won't tell you because I would love for you to be surprised.
And I hate spoilers, so I don't look for it. So
yeah, I mean it's been in the press and stuff, but the fact that you don't know it makes me want you to experience it in real time.
Yeah, I don't
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just I don't want to be the one to tell you if you don't know.
Yeah, I like going back to the last couple seasons of Survivor. The last couple seasons of Survivor, last couple seasons of The Amazing Race, I have tried to come in just not knowing anything. The reason why is because the fandom had started to actually make the enjoyment my enjoyment like come down because I was listening to everything, and then I was going and hearing other people talk about it, as far as like, oh, this sucks, whatever, like that. It was just so much negativity that I just decided just to like, don't. I'm not even gonna worry about it. I'm gonna go in and watch it, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. Yeah.
Well, luckily you can just come in here and talk with a few folks and tune everybody else out. Everybody can listen to you, and you don't have to listen to them.
Well, I don't mind the what's it called? During the season, what things going on. It's all the stuff like beforehand where people are already making up their decision on whether this season's going to be good or not, whether this particular team is going to be good or not based on, things that they found out about them or whatever, you know what it is. And then of course there's also people who just are fed up with the season or the series, and they're for some reason still watching for whatever reason. So like a lot of people hate watch Survivor still. Like, why would you watch something you don't like anymore or don't enjoy anymore?
Because they do actually like it, and they're just edgy. But in any case, we will find out at least how they handle the shutdown next week. As far as whether they get into what they do post the suspension, TBD. Wouldn't be surprised if they sort of draw it out a little bit and make it sort of a special. Also, wouldn't be surprised if, because everybody's already lived 2 years through this, they just get right onto the fourth leg. So I have my prediction. I would love to be wrong. And I guess we'll talk all about it next week. So I think we've covered pretty much everything. Real quick, Mark, who do you think will end up eliminated next? Based on who and what we've seen so far.
Based on who and what we've seen so far, I see a little bit of struggling from Anthony and Spencer, but I think Lulu and Lala, they're not long for this race.
Okay.
Either them or Akbar and Sherry.
I think it's either going to be Lulu, Lala, or Taylor and Isaiah, just because Taylor and Isaiah and Lulu and Lala have been on the bottom the last two legs. So I think it's going to be one of those two.
I'm worried about Taylor and Isaiah, and I can't put my finger on what it is, but something about just the vibe that I've gotten from them. They're lovely, but I just wonder if this just isn't their thing, right? I don't know. We'll see. I would love to be wrong.
They're probably not cutthroat enough for this.
They seem so sweet.
They're not driven enough, or they don't seem to be super competitive compared to the other teams.
Luckily, this is not one where you have to. You usually don't have to backstab anybody. I mean, you don't have to be BFFs either with everybody in the race. But it's not like Survivor. U-turns. Yeah, there's not Survivor where you have to lie to everyone every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's not forget. End of this month, we have a new season of Australian Survivor.
We do.
With Queen Sandra.
Featuring, I mean, this. Yeah, I was going to say this is now publicly. I mean, it's literally on the side of a bus and on a billboard in Australia. But Sandra and her daughter Nina will be playing in a blood versus water season of Australian Survivor. So be sure to check that out if we can.
Does anybody know?
I still don't know. I don't know if it's going to be on Paramount Plus. I would guess that it wouldn't be, but we don't really have a precedent for this. I'm surprised that any Australian Survivor's on Paramount Plus. So
from what I understand, the seasons with Jonathan, what's his last name,
LaPaglia?
Yeah, since he's been on there, that Survivor from here is actually help producing that over there. So they kind of have like this working relationship with them. Whether how much they actually get into it, I don't know. But I think it's because they actually, or is it the other channel that they do? Because they show the American Survivor over there, but I think it's on different channels. Mm-hmm. I forgot how
it's a different channel. Yeah. That's what was really weird about when it first dropped, is that they had two Survivor shows airing on two different channels. So a lot to keep up with. But hopefully we'll be able to keep up with it as well as if Paramount Plus does drop it week to week.
The thing is,
day to day.
I don't want to find it in other dubious ways to watch Australian Survivor, but if we don't have another way to watch it,
Yeah, totally. Well, I don't know. I'm sure we will. I don't know that this show's going to cover the whole thing because it's forever long and a million episodes, but I'm sure we'll talk about it bit by bit along the way.
No, we're going to have 50 episodes of the Spyshack Podcast EU.
And it's going to be all Saul talking to himself.
It's not even going to be on YouTube. It's just going to be me rambling by myself.
So tune in for that. Well, in the meantime, until next week, Saul, where can people find you if they would like to?
You can find me at Perspective on Twitter, as well as at Nerds FTC, which is my other podcast, Nerds from the Crypt. You can find us also available on the Spoilerverse, spoilerverse.com. And you can also find me on Instagram and on Facebook at Nerds FTC.
Cool. Mark?
You can find me on Twitter at Marco Polo 310. That's Marco Polo with a K.
Cool. And you can find me on Twitter at Ikkybooley, ICKYBOOLEY. I just did the math. I dropped over 100 episodes of podcasting in 2021.
Wow.
So if this beautiful voice does it for you, you can find me all over the place talking about all sorts of nerdy things.
I still need to get you on my other podcast. We talked about this for like a year already. I need to get you on my other podcast.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Horror movies, guys. You like horror movies? Get Doug. Tell Doug to come onto my podcast.
Perfect. Look out for that. Then next, I'll add it to the 100 this year.
There you go.
All right.
That's crazy.
Well, we'll see you next time. Talking about definitely Leg 3, and who knows what else.
And yep.